Hello everyone, welcome to Task IS. We are discussing Unit 3 of Ethics, that is Aptitude and Foundational Values for Civil Services. We have covered some subtopics like what is aptitude, what is difference between aptitude versus attitude. Then by these values are called foundational values for civil services. We have discussed integrity also, that is first foundational value. Now we will discuss other topics. One thing to remember that these topics will have simple definition, easy to understand, but these topics give you an opportunity to write whatever you want. That means you will have scope to write your personal examples, and you can show to examiner that these are values for civil services, but as a aspirant I have these values. If your past experiences show that you have these values, then they show you have aptitude for civil services. So apart from these videos, you should focus on writing your own examples in front of these values so that you will have your unique answers. Now, what is impartiality and non-partnership? Even from the words you can guess that what is mean. It refers to fact of not supporting one person or any idea more than other. It means you have to remove your biasness from your decisions, and you have to take decisions on the basis of objectivity and rationality, on the basis of evidences. This is mean impartiality. Here, impartiality is mainly political impartiality, where it is mentioned that civil servants, that is permanent political executive, should remain neutral from change in political parties, and they should work with same efficiency whether the political party changes or continues. Secondly, non-partnership, it also shows that civil servants should have non-partnership in political affairs. They should their work with their dedication, and they should have only one guiding principle, that is our constitution and its values. Now, this impartiality and non-partnership behavior reflects from various stages. Firstly, when civil servants have to give recommendation for policy formulation. Secondly, during policy implementation. So at both stages they should behave in an impartial and non-partnership attitude. Now, you can consider a practical example where land acquisition for any public purpose will be there. Here, his impartial behavior will be checked, because consider any political authority has asked him to favor and give this particular land for any purpose to any particular individual. If he has followed that order, that shows that he has partial attitude. But if he has done proper inquiry with proper evidences and then deciding that X individual should give this contract, then this shows that he has impartial attitude. Now, here political impartiality reflect that civil servants have no obligation to defend the views of ministers, although it is said that they should follow the orders of higher authorities, that is political office holder, but it doesn't mean they should have yes attitude. That means they should not say yes for every order. They should use their own mind, their own objectivity, rationality to monitor or analyze any decision, and this will reflect their impartial behavior. Now you can mention about Sardar Patel, his this quote you can mention, but you can also take hints from this quote, and whenever you are writing some recommendation you can take points from here. From Patel, he has emphasized that for efficient, disciplined and contented civil servants, there should be no political interference, and they should work above party and political influence from different stages like recruitment, then their transfer or promotion or any corruption charges or etc., or discipline cases, there should be minimum in political interference, and we should try to eliminate this political interference, and if we can't eliminate, then there should be minimum political interference. This was mentioned by Sardar Patel, and he is that person who has believed that civil servants are still framework for our political system. Now, civil services neutrality, you maybe find this term in your paper. It also refers to political impartiality, that is, whether political parties changes or continue, civil servants should remain neutral. But here neutral word doesn't mean that they will not use their own mind, because they have to judge or evaluate every decision, every policy, and they can't implement every policy without questioning. If everything is okay, then fine, otherwise it should be prevented from happening. So they should not have yes ma'am or sir attitude. So we have discussed impartial and non-partnership by simply defining it, and where this all applicable from policy formulation to implementation, then mentioned about Sardar Patel's view on this. And now, what are challenges to impartial behavior? This will help in brainstorming this topic. Again, you can discuss this point from multiple dimensions. Firstly, from at recruitment stage, then you can mention regarding promotion or transfer, and also about your suspension. Now, although UPSC has given responsibility for choosing best person for civil services on the basis of merit, but who knows that cadre allocation is done on basis of which factors? So there are questions regarding this. Secondly, now promotion and transfer, these are done on the wishes of political executives. So there is a constant pressure on civil servants that if they follow orders of particular individual, then they will remain in place for long term, and this stability will help him in his personal life as well as in public life. Because if an individual has a time spent of 2 or 3 months and he is continue to be transferred, then he has less time to understand that political situation or that administrative structure of a particular district. So he wants stability, but this constant fear of transfer led to decrease in his efficiency. Now, promotion, again there are secrecy in criteria, that is also questionable. Now there are cases that civil servants are suspended or resignated from their job. Although our constitution has provided some guidelines regarding their suspension or termination of job, but how one can be ensured that that particular political leader has not interfered in inquiry? You can easily connect with this some scenes from famous old movies. Now, apart from this, there is a constant use of muscle power, and there is a threat to life of that civil servant as well as its family members. So these are some of the challenges to impartial behavior. Now, what should be done to maintain that impartial behavior? Firstly, independent civil services board, so that there is a transparency in allocation of cadres or transfers or promotion, and this was directed by our Honorable Supreme Court. Secondly, if RTI Act is implemented in true spirit, then there will be transparency and accountability will be maintained, and there will be less chances for any nexus of civil servants or political leaders. Now, performance appraisal report of civil servants should be done by 360-degree approach. That means seniors, juniors, and even the common people or consumers, that should be included in making performance appraisal report, so that that particular civil servant will not be depend on any particular senior for his report. And also this performance appraisal can be done by any independent body like Independent Civil Services Board, so that their independency and impartial behavior can be maintained. Now we have discussed about impartiality. Now objectivity. Objectivity shows that every decision should be based on merit and based on facts, evidences, not personal biasness or preconceived notions. It means here individuals should left behind his own personal biasness and do any work with proper merits and facts. For example, you can again connect with example that if he had given work of awarding contracts for particular project or recommending individuals for a particular job, then his decision should be based on objectivity, not any preferences on the basis of gender or caste or race, etc. Now this biasness, if come, it has negative implications, and if one asks what is the benefits of objectivity, then you can reverse these points. If objectivity is not maintained, then it has economic implications. You have heard word crony capitalism. In this way you can connect your answers with different GS, for example economics or economic survey particularly. So if crony capitalism will be there, if you are favoring a particular capital class for any project or for any program, then it will hurt investor confidence, because now your project is not a neutral, there is a biasness. Secondly, in case of public tendering, if you are not doing work with objectivity, then quality of service will be down, then the goal of good governance will not be achieved. You can mention, and then some side products like corruption will survive in work culture. And if you have some biasness toward caste identities, for example, then it will hurt social fabric of our society. And if you have some biasness toward gender, then it will also hurt our goal of inclusive development. So you can mention these points. And if it's positive, if biasness is not there, then what are the implications? Then you can mention that ease of doing business will be high, then quality of service or our state will have welfare approach in its services, and the social fabric will be strengthened. Now there are some examples where objectivity has been maintained. For example, Justice Verma in sexual harassment case, and here he has mentioned that some cases like sexual harassment, you should not do work with some biasness. For example, if you have some biasness that man is always a culprit and women are victims, or vice versa, then you have some biasness and you will not take decision on the basis of objectivity or presented evidences. You can mention T.N. Session. He was a famous election officer, chief election commissioner. Then you can mention that he has taken various election reforms and he has maintained his objectivity in his decisions, and he was not impacted by any political affairs. You can write these examples in impartial value also, because somewhat impartial and objectivity has somewhat common meaning. Now, to maintain objectivity in public services, a candidate must have followed some principles. That is, information should be accurate and it should have open access to information, and every decision should be based on evidences and accuracy. Secondly, decisions you should be taken on the basis of merits. You can also mention that he should take expert and professional advice whenever taking any decision, not on the basis of any biasness or preconceived notions. Now, dedication to public service, this is another value that is mentioned here. If you define what is simply dedication is, then dedication is quality of being devoting yourself completely, entirely for any particular activity, person or any cause. Now this dedication will help civil servants to maintain their consistency in work when they are working in hostile environment, and when their work is boring, or they are feeling that their work is boring. And here you can mention Kant's maximum that duty for the sake of duty. You have to do your work and your duty should become your end. Now you can mention Mahatma Gandhi famous line that best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others, because it reflects that if you have dedication for public services, then you will find yourself also. If you are serving others, then there is a great opportunity that you will understand where your internal satisfaction, your life, where your happiness lies. And these happiness or satisfaction is a long term, not short term, that you will get from materialistic things. Now why it is needed, why dedication to civil services is needed? Because without it, civil servants find it difficult to perform their duties, especially in emergency situations, because you will not get air conditioner with other facilities when you are working in a village. So these values will help you to survive those times also. Secondly, it will help civil servants to remain empathetic to the people. We will discuss empathy value separately, but simply empathy means that you understand others' problem from their point of view. You have deep feeling for pain of others. So if civil servants have dedication, then they will understand problems of other members of our society, especially vulnerable section of our society. Now if these values will be followed, then ideals mentioned in our constitutions, they can be achieved. For example, justice, equality. So you can mention these points, and these points can be mentioned in any one of these values. They will be applicable in most of these values. Now that's all for today. We will discuss remaining topic, that is empathy, compassion and tolerance for weaker section of our society. To get constant updates, please like, share and subscribe Task IAS YouTube channel, and that will also motivate us for continue this series. Thank you.